So the show is all yours whenever you're ready.
Alrighty, as long as you're ready in the back, I'm ready in here, so we can get right to it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Glass Half Sports. Today is Thursday, August 4th. We are 35 days from opening kickoff in the NFL, ladies and gentlemen, and just hours away from our first take of live football action with the Hall of Fame game tonight. I am one half of your hosting duties, as always, Nick Huffman, and sitting to my right is absolutely nobody, because we had to place Mike on the physically unable to opinionate list. We will give you day-to-day updates on his status as we close in on next week. So we will be leaning on Gabe a little bit today for the show. Gabe, how are you doing in the back?
I'm doing great, man. And I got a couple, I'll be filling in with a few Mike takes, and I already feel terrified to win.
You know what? That is fitting. It is contagious. That is why we had to remove him from the studio this week. I am a winner over here, and I didn't want to catch his fear of winning. So
we're having some success lately. So,
yeah, exactly. So just had to.
You had to take a day off.
It was overwhelming for Mike. All of this unearned, eager, early success. But we got a big show for you guys today, as we will be walking through some of the big news that has dropped in sports in the last 7 days since we saw you last. Deshaun Watson's 6-game suspension in the NFL and the appeal of that coming from the commissioner. We're going to do a Minnesota sports roundup. Some news dropped not only for the Minnesota Twins, but the Minnesota Wild, and with the Vikings in camp, we can't miss out on them. Then MLB moving day. Usually one of Gabe's most feared days of the year. The Cubs pretty much got out of it unscathed. So we'll talk about all the big moves that happened in the MLB, and then we'll kick over to some hot corner topics as we have to say goodbye to some legends and talk about any of the other B-list topics that's going on in the sports world. Gabe, anything that you're most excited to hear about today?
Well, I'm always all baseball, shit. So, I'm always really happy to hear about that. And especially, I've had a really busy week at the studio. So I'm sort of a little bit disconnected from the news. Of course, I always keep an eyeball on it. But yeah, so I actually get to learn a little bit too this week.
Absolutely.
I'm dying to know about the Twins thing once we get there. But
yeah, and if you are like Gabe and you missed some of this week's sports news and you are a sports fan with sports friends, feel free to drop in on our Facebook channel at Glass Half Sports and leave a like. Go ahead and share it so that way, you're doing your part. Pay it forward, right? You can also find us outside of today on platforms like Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Spotify, YouTube. We will be back on live next week if you want to catch us there. Twitch and Patreon. And then for the replay of the show, you can always catch us on MCN. That's Minnesota's Channel 6, locally Saturdays at what time, Gabe? I know we bounce around a little bit.
Well, we've had a little issue with swearing lately, so we've been sort of put on the late night. But they can also pick us up on Roku as well.
Exactly. So you can catch us on Roku as well. Just download that MCN app. And then I think we're missing something else. Oh yeah, that's right. The phone lines are open today, folks. The Glass Half hotline, or hotline blinging it, for the rest of the show today to interact with all of our fans. So if you want to give a call to 612-704-2848 throughout the show to give your take on or join the debate on any of the topics that we will be going over today, feel free to give that number a ring. Of course, that number, there you go. That number will not ring after the show. So if you want to do it now. And we can kind of get right into it with the Deshaun Watson debacle. I guess this show has...
how do you refer to this one?
Conundrum. I think that would be the appropriate word, right?
Yeah.
Conundrum. This show in particular has decided to, I guess, stay impartial and keep its distance from this topic as it has continued to go on. Till we got all the information, I felt that was going to be something that was going to be important. So let's take a second and let's back all the way up. This whole thing starts, Deshaun Watson requests a trade from the Houston Texans. Then as soon as he's like, hey, I'm not coming to camp, I'm not playing, appalling amount of accusations, I think would be the appropriate term to use, comes out that, he has been, in lewd form, or, being inappropriately forward with massage therapists, like all of them in the state of Texas and all over the rest of the country, I guess. He sits out pretty much the entire year last year and doesn't wind up on the commissioner's exempt list. That is going to play a big portion into what we're going to talk about here for a second. Goes ahead, gets traded to the Browns, and gets the largest guaranteed deal in NFL history. of which the Browns know they're probably going to lose him for the first year. So they only pay the whole contract. His first year here with the Browns is only worth about $1 million. And then due to the new CBA, this is where a lot of the issues are coming in now. After what happened to Ezekiel Elliott, the Ray Rice situation, where Roger Goodell really got to be the judge, jury, and executioner of all of the punishments for such a big brand at this point, the players decided, hey, we need to have a fair and just almost hearing between the commissioner's office and the NFLPA to decide what the appropriate punishments for these things are. Because keep in mind, the only things that are in the NFL handbook are things regarding the integrity of the game and previous punishments and I guess hearings of other, I guess what's the word I'm looking for here? Transgressions against, the player conduct policy. So those are the two things that are only in there. So they go out and they agree on the honorable Sue Bird, who held a pretty high seat at one point, and she came back after doing her investigation and said, you don't have the pieces in place. There's nothing in the letter that says that I can suspend him for anything more than 6 games. She also states that his actions are appalling and predatorial and, definitely negative. But due to the corner that the NFL has painted itself into by not putting, in black and white what appropriate punishment should be, he's not going to get the same punishment from her that a Calvin Ridley would have gotten for his year-long suspension for gambling while being an NFL athlete, right? That's in black and white. So that's a punishable offense. So they're in shaky waters. So in essence, it puts Roger Goodell in a bad spot. He's got to appeal it now. The NFL came out last night around 3 o'clock, and decided to appeal this thing. And now we've opened a whole new can of worms, in my opinion. As far as what has happened up to this point, Gabe, I really think that we're in one of those situations where when we were kids, right? And if me and you were to get into like a lunch table scrap and you punched me and then I punched you back, who's likely going to get in the most amount of trouble? I am.
Yeah.
The kid who hits second always gets it worse. And because Deshaun Watson is in a situation, right or wrong, of this being the case, to where he is the first, he's probably not going to bore or get the severity that is deserved in this situation, because there is no precedent for it to this point. The 6-game suspension is based on what the NFL neglected into putting into the current CBA that they signed with the NFL Players Association less than a year ago. So there's that piece to it. The other piece is, now that it's being appealed, the NFL wants a 12-game suspension and a $10 million fine of Deshaun Watson. Okay,
that's what they wanted. So what I've been wondering here is, as someone, so I read a bunch about this when it broke, obviously. Yep. And then it's one of those things where the news starts getting so ugly that you start detaching from it a little bit.
Yep.
What do we know now? Like, to start over for anyone who might not be up on the whole thing. Can you quickly, summarize that?
I mean, I don't know.
Do we know what so did he settle? He paid settlements to 22 women?
23. There's one outstanding.
Okay.
25. So there were 25 total. One withdrew, and he settled 23 of them. So there's one outstanding, case, I guess, up to this point. And it's odd to me, because to me, and especially at this day and age, I don't necessarily think that and you may think of this differently, I don't think that a settlement is by any means an admission of guilt. It is wanting to possibly move on from the current situation or put it behind them. But I don't think it's by any means an admission of guilt.
I don't think it's
in most cases.
I don't think it looks good.
I don't think it looks great, but I think it's,
you think it looks great?
I said it looks
good.
I don't think it looks great. I don't think it looks good. In this situation, it definitely looks worse than most scenarios, right? Because of the volume of accusations that are out there against him, and the fact that he contacted 66 different individuals, some qualified, some not, to perform this supposed therapy on his groin. It's that's kind of where we're at right now.
How do we expect the Cleveland fan base to receive him? You know, we all know he's a dynamite player. And I mean, you said yourself when you're watching things, you kind of like, or whatever, you were going over this. Was it prepping it that made you remember how great he was?
Yeah, I was sitting there watching his highlights where he was strapped to the back of a time bomb in Houston and had them on the verge of playoffs year in and year out, and had the eventual Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs with that awful roster down 14 points at halftime in a playoff game. Like, before Deshaun Watson turned into Bill Crosby, he was a top 3 quarterback in the league.
Yeah.
It's so, as far as how do I expect the Cleveland fan base to perceive him or I guess, get comfortable, I don't know, because there's a few different ways that this can go now. And Sue Robinson also put in that report, by the way, that if the NFL was, as soon as these things broke, truly looking for a year-long suspension of Deshaun Watson, they absolutely should have put him on the commissioner's exempt list while this was going on, because then they could have also, while he's on the exempt list, asked him to go to treatment, something that they are asking for now. They could have had him pay his fine up, something that they are asking for now. And then he would have been able to play this entire season and say, hey, proactively, kind of like we did with Adrian Peterson, he has already served his suspension. He has already missed a year's worth of game checks and play and is not a part of the league. But Goodell's inability to place him on that list because he didn't want to be wrong in case this was just a coup to keep him in Houston now is effectively backfiring on them both. This is a no-win situation. Nobody wins here. Because if the NFL pursues this for a season-long suspension, then the Players Association are going to be in an uproar, because Roger Goodell signed that new CBA going, well, we needed somebody to be a mediator for these things specifically. So that way you couldn't just hand out suspensions as you see fit based on the court of public opinion, and there's actual guidelines. But if we stick at the 6-game scenario, there's going to be a public outcry of, oh, the NFL doesn't care about women. And I'm like, I don't think that's true either. They have been at the forefront of female referees, female coaches, trying to get, more and more and more people of the female gender integrated into football at all levels, whether that be college, high school. There's programs all over the United States. So to sit back and say that the NFL doesn't care, I think is a bit of an overstep. That all is true. But why? This is such an obvious bonehead move that you just go, it's very hard to feel bad for him in this case. You know what I mean? And I'm not expecting anybody to feel bad for Deshaun Watson.
No. I'm saying even the NFL, like the whole thing. Like, yeah, you can be supportive, but you kill all your credibility by doing these things. And you could see it coming. I know that.
A mile away.
I saw it coming.
Yep.
And I'm not the GM for the Browns. Does he lose his job?
No.
You don't think so? Why not?
Because I think as soon as they can finally land, and I think this is kind of where keep in mind.
Because he's so good at football.
Exactly.
God.
Part of the reason why, like I said, why this suspension wasn't more heavy-handed through the mediator that they got was because the only thing up to this point that the NFL has truly ever been concerned about has been the integrity of the game, competitive fairness. That is what they have based the CBA agreements around. That's why Calvin Ridley got a year. That's why guys like Pete Rose aren't in the Hall of Fame, right? This is untraveled territory. So, you know what I mean? They left themselves open to this. And because the Players Association understands that even though they may not want to take a stand for Deshaun Watson based on the accusations, if they don't take a stand for him where there is leverage in the PA agreement, then there's dissension internally amongst the players, and the players lose faith in the NFLPA, which I'm sure is actually funded by the players themselves out of their own pockets. So when I say this is a no-win situation, this is truly about as no-win as you can get. Everybody's got to take what they can out of this situation, because if they don't, they risk looking really, really bad. Roger Goodell's job now, which is increasingly difficult, is going to be trying to find the fine line that doesn't have Deshaun Watson and the NFLPA return with an appeal of their own. Because if he goes for a full year suspension, Deshaun can say, I've already served a year. Here's my $10 million fine. Let's go. And if it goes to a federal court, not only is Deshaun Watson's case probably going to get brought up, then you risk bringing the Gruden case back up. Then there's a lot of other things that get tied into this as a track record of NFL punishment and how they've treated their players and a lot of other things. Roger doesn't want that out in the media, prolonging this and tarnishing the image of the NFL. But they also want Deshaun removed from the game long enough for people to feel like he has served an appropriate amount of time. I don't think that exists. They either needed, the only way that this ever would have got settled is if they did not suspend him at all because the jury said that they didn't, and then dealt with the backlash from the fans, or removed him from the league entirely and fought that battle. Them trying to find middle ground was the biggest mistake.
So if we were to kind of cut through this, what do you think is what should happen? What's going to happen?
What should happen is Deshaun Watson should sit out half a season.
Half a season?
Half a season. Right now, that's going to be 8-9 games.
Okay, because he's at 6 right now.
Because he's at 6 and Goodell wants 12.
Okay.
And throughout that 9-week period, he should have to go to some form of treatment or therapy or whatever. Obviously not massage therapy. But like he should have to go.
Good one, actually.
Thank you.
Yeah.
He should have to go seek some help for what has occurred.
Therapy? Yeah, I'll do therapy. Yeah.
Right. He should have to go do that. The same way that Mike Vick had to kind of go make his PR run in his return. And that should be the end of it. It should be, because if you drag it out any further than this season, the longer you leave this hang, the more hangers on there will be.
Yeah.
Right? So you got to put it away. So it should be 9 games. I don't even think that he should have to pay a $10 million fine unless the NFL is going to outline that they're using that money for something constructive that is going to then impact the individuals that were affected by these offenses. That's the only reason I think the NFL should be going after $10 million. Are you kidding me? Like,
yeah. The whole thing is so... This is why, in a way, to me, this is not worth it for the Browns. This is not like just all this stuff where you go like,
yeah,
man, it just is such bad PR. It's such bad PR. And I'm dying to know what Cleveland fans really feel about it. Like, I mean, how that's going to be received. Like,
yeah,
how do you not feel guilty being a part of that in a sense? I'm not saying they got to, be feeling awful about themselves necessarily. It's just, I don't know. It's an ugly thing. If you're one of those, I'm glad the women got paid.
Yep.
And that makes me feel better. And then what's really effed up is that there's part of me that goes, I paid like all that money. Like, he's paid. He has paid. He has paid dearly for this.
Oh yeah.
So I guess, I think that's what you say. I think you brought me around to it. As long as he's got to do treatment. He's got to show contrition. Has he made statements on this?
He has, and he has stood on the grounds of, I have done nothing wrong. I'm not guilty, different things like that this entire time. And now, do I believe him and do the fans believe him? No.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, people, if you shot somebody and then didn't want, and you wanted to stay as clean of that as you physically can, it wasn't your gun, there's no fingerprints on it, whatever the case may be, right? There's strands of evidence, but none of them are public. And you wanted to keep your image, you would stand on the hill of, I did nothing wrong, this wasn't me, until the day that it was, buried as well. He's not doing anything that anybody who has ever been, accused of anything hasn't done before.
Yeah. Well,
right?
Yeah, you get in a spot legally where
that's all you can
Yeah,
say.
yeah.
Because an admission to anything else opens up a whole nother can of worms.
Yeah.
So I don't know. This is ugly for the NFL. There's a lot going on too. Keep in mind, they're right after this, they're going to have to dig into the tampering thing with the Dolphins that dropped the other day. And
I
they're
don't
still
even know what that is. Holy crap.
Yep.
What's that?
Well, the Dolphins just got fined they just got actually a first round draft pick taken from them, among other things. Because they tried to they tampered with Tom Brady while he was still a part of the Patriots, and this last season when he was with the Buccaneers, and they tried to get Sean Payton out of his job while he was still under contract with the Saints. So like their owners under the gun right now. Let's not, you can lump into that the whole thing with Brian Flores and him being paid to tank and then being fired because he refused. After he got them to the playoffs because he refused to do so, on top of the John Gruden thing that's going on.
So where do you stand on this whole role models? Because I know Goodell cares about it, and man, is that league looking awful right now? It's like, and this is under his watch.
Oh yeah.
Where do you fit him in this?
Goodell?
Yeah. Does Goodell need to maybe move on from that job?
I think it's almost time. I think it is almost time. There's only so many bullets you can take before you're damaged goods.
Right.
And last year with the Henry Ruggs thing, the Dan Snyder thing, by the way, is still coming out.
God. Yeah.
All on Goodell's watch. I like Roger Goodell. He has done great things for football in the time that he's in.
Yeah.
But there is a time and a place for everything, and this might be the right time and the right place for the NFL to start looking, or at least allow him to run out his contract, but for them to start grooming a new commissioner. And here's what I'll say. If you can find a qualified female to do the job, grab one.
Yeah.
You want to fix the NFL's image? Let's talk strictly business, right?
God, I have so many awful jokes in my head. I just won't say them.
I know, but that's the way to do it. That is the way to do it. Find a qualified. And I am a firm believer that gender
sexual harassment.
Right.
Yeah. Holy crap. Yeah, it's crazy, man. We enable people in this world when they get this status, and as much as the world is getting smaller and we're getting more kind of like less celebrity crazy, or you feel like on one hand, this stuff happens and you're just like, yeah, I don't know. But anyway, let's move on. This is too depressing.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as always, let us know what you guys think about the Deshaun Watson situation. Keep it clean in the comment section. I will get back to you either here on the show live or in the comment section after. And the phone lines are open. Moving on to the Minnesota Sports Roundup. Lots of good things happening in Minnesota sports over the last 7 days. And let's start with, and with a little bit of a round of applause as well. Kirill Kaprizov has returned to the state of Minnesota. Thank heavens that the Wild superstar is back on U.S. soil, because this could have gone real bad for a franchise that is real close, real fast. Did you see this, Gabe? There we go. And welcome home.
It looks like Mike is actually joining us.
Oh,
he's got one of his sports takes.
Look at you guys. Pigeon. Could pet the bird.
Oh. Yeah, of course. So yeah, we'll just leave it there with Mike there. But we got so Kirill is back. So have they talked anything about the story yet? Because I feel like there should be a fascinating like Tom Clancy type story here.
Yeah, I think there definitely should be something that comes up in regards to this, but I haven't heard a whole ton about it. The only thing that I really heard was the breaking news that he had returned. I was actually in the middle of a real good day. I had gone out golfing. I had gone to the casino and I had won some money. I was watching the UFC fights. I go to check Twitter. Boom, Kirill Kaprizov is back. I was like, this is Christmas in July. But no, this was really cool to see him home. And I think my biggest takeaway from this is I hope that the Minnesota Wild in their ownership and their general managers understand the weight of what could have occurred here. The money that you've invested into this guy, the way that you've set your franchise up, what he means and what losing him would have meant had we handled this or had this gone any other way than the way that it went. And with that being said, somebody needs to get in front of Kirill and say, for the sake of your security,
don't go back.
Your safety, your family, your financial stability,
Nick Hoffman's happiness,
my happiness and fandom to the Minnesota Wild, going back is no longer worth it for him. I understand that is his home, but there are, like I said, there's situations are situational. There's a time and a place for everything, and it's not time, and Russia is definitely not the place to go back to for a very long time. The other part of this is I hope Minnesota sees that this is a great chance to lock him up as a Wild player long-term based on how you treat him, as I'm sure he is going to be removed from his first home. Whatever his family needs, get it to them. Whatever his friends need, get them that assistance. If it's sending money over there, whatever the case may be. Whatever he needs here, get it to him. Because the better you treat him now, after him almost not being able to come back and play in the league with the team and, doing the sport that he loves, the more he's going to appreciate your franchise and the longer you are going to be able to keep him. That's the end of it. That is all that needs to happen now. He needs to go out and play hockey, and the Minnesota Wild need to understand that taking care of him is a priority.
Yeah,
plain and simple.
It is. So you said something though that kind of confused me. I thought we did sign him long term.
We've got him for 5, and I'm saying not just 5 years.
You want to add another 10 years?
But I'm saying when he goes to re-up, there should be no question that he wants to play here because of how well you have taken care of him and those that surround him in the situation that he has unfortunately been forced into by the government in his home country.
Yeah. No, it is crazy. And by the way, I was not super optimistic here. I was not either. Very good chance that, that he was that we wouldn't see him this year.
He had an obligated military service that he had not completed.
Wow.
To the country.
However, he's such a star in my eyes. I'm actually surprised. I was shocked when I saw that he didn't get off the plane with Brittany Griner.
Were you though?
I was shocked. Yes.
Were you though?
He's a hero. He's an American hero, and he's an American-Russian hero.
Yeah, and like I said, the Wild just need to treat it as such. I'm excited to see him get back into camp. I think the team has a real shot this year, and if they don't, to start the season by the trade deadline, do whatever you can to get into a place where you feel like you're going to be able to win a Stanley Cup. It's a whole lot easier to say without Mike barking in my ear. I'm sure his ears are ringing somewhere as we talk about winning way too early for a franchise, but these are all good things. And in a week of good news for sports in Minnesota, this is the headline. Kirill Kaprizov is home. So now we can start building Little Russia somewhere in Minnesota, and he never has to go home.
Welcome home, Kirill, and to the local media, please don't ask him his stance on the Ukraine war.
Yeah, God,
I don't want to hear it.
Me either.
Please don't want.
And he shouldn't have to answer for that. He shouldn't have to answer for that.
Yeah, no, I mean, especially if anyone understands his situation, But yeah, I was more just making a joke because he'd probably say something that I disagree with. But,
right.
But yeah.
Right. So, yeah. All right. Well, that's what we've got on the Minnesota Wild portion of the show. Mike, are you going to say anything today?
He's still thinking. He's looking out for wins. He's a little worried.
A little spooked by the volume of success, huh?
That's right.
All right. Then we've got the Minnesota Twins active at the trade deadline. Yes. I had actually preemptively gone out and just fried Falvey and Levine for their, I guess, lack of engagement up until about 3 hours before the trade deadline was up, but they did get something done. When it comes to the Twins, though, I think everybody knows my stance on sports in general, but especially when it comes to the Twins and in baseball, where the funds are unlimited. The take should be it's championship or bust. It's did you set yourself up to win a World Series? And if the answer is no, then the trades weren't worth it. They just weren't.
So first, can you recap everything that happened?
Yeah. So the Twins went out and they got the arms that they needed. They got Jose Lopez from the Baltimore Orioles for Cade Povich, and two other, I guess, minor league players. One of them being Cano, who was AAA and had bounced back and forth from the Minnesota Twins. They went out and got Michael Fulmer from Detroit. We're very familiar with him. Hard throwing right-hander from Detroit. I don't exactly remember who was in that deal. I know Encarnacion Strand was a part of that one, which was somebody me and Mike had talked about 2 drafts ago for the Minnesota Twins. And then we got the guy that Nash Walker said that we were going to go out and get in Tyler or Trevor Male from the Reds for Spencer Steer. Spencer Steer and 2 other players. I'm spacing on their names right now. But so it was a lot of it was a lot of prospects for major league arms, which is fine. But as good as these 3 arms are, do these 3 names strike enough fear in the rest of the division, or do you look at the Twins roster now and go, "Oh yeah, we'll win a championship this year"? No, you still don't. And it's unfortunate that that's the case because they're a good team, but it's just not the case. So your top 3 pitchers now are what? Joe Ryan, Male, and Sonny Gray when he's healthy. Chris Archer when he's healthy.
Let me, as someone who doesn't really, who isn't up on this move, right? Yeah. This is what I'm hearing. Is this one of those moves where the GM was just trying to keep his job? Like, I got to do something.
Yes.
I got to do something.
Yes.
But I'm not going to, do anything meaningful.
Yeah. And it's, I don't know. There are certain guys that should have been, I guess, untouchable to me, and I'm not sitting here saying I don't like the guys that we traded for.
Well, yeah. So what is the book on those guys too? Like, I mean, who should we be excited about, if anyone?
I think Jose Lopez, from Baltimore is great. We saw him early in the year with the Twins and he was nails in the bullpen, as Nash Walker would say. Really good arm. Both of the guys that we got in the bullpen, high 90s throwers. I think what you're going to see now is a rotating committee, because the arms in the bullpen now essentially are Griffin Jacks, Lopez, Duran, and Fulmer. So it'll be one guy is, you'll have 2 guys that are middle relievers. You're going to have a setup guy and a closer that'll probably rotate back and forth. So they've got bullpen arms. The question is, are the starters good enough now? I like Male. He throws hard. He's got decent control. Nash tends to think that he was wounded by the ballpark that he plays in a very hitter-friendly park with how hard he throws. But I think if you're throwing hard enough and you're spotting well, it's usually not an issue. So I do think he leaves a little bit to be desired because he does have the tendency to leave that ball out over the plate, and that's what hurts him. So the book on those guys are, is it an upgrade? Did the Twins get better? Yes. Did they get good enough to warrant giving up the talent that could have developed? I'm not quite sure. Encarnacion Strand is potentially one of the better power hitters in a high A ball. He would have played AA next year. Spencer Steer, who we got rid of, is the Twins' number 4 prospect at second base when you don't know if you're going to be able to get Royce Lewis back or if Carlos Correa is going to stay. What's Jorge Polanco's contract situation look like long term? We also gave up Cade Povich. We haven't really had a control-minded left-handed pitcher in the starting rotation. He proved to be really well out of Nebraska. Those guys you probably don't trade. And the reason I say this is because San Diego, who we will talk about later, has shown that there is a perfect recipe to go from small market bottom feeder to contender. And what they did was they just developed and acquired and amassed an absurd amount of talent in their farm system. And once everyone else in the majors saw how good those guys were going to be and what the value was, they're able to trade for legitimate stars that make a difference when it's time to win. The Twins are consistently just okay, like many other Minnesota sports franchises, with doing the moves that get them good enough to make the fan base feel like they'll be competitive in the playoffs, but nowhere near a championship. That's how I see this move.
I would say I'm going to go out on and say that there's something else that the Padres acquired, and that matters more than anything.
Yep.
And it is a GM named AJ Preller. And he is now known in this league as just like he's actually, you can tell there's jealousy and annoyance because he's so loose and he's just like making deals. And I think at the end of the day, yes, the circumstances, he had those things that you said, absolutely. But none of that shit matters unless you got a guy in that GM office who's willing to make a move. Well, it appears we do not.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
But that's a long-term plan. How long has AJ Preller been there?
But what I'm saying is, if AJ Preller was with the Twins, that our deadline would have been totally different, right? Like that, it is the mentality. We have those things too. We have those things to sell. Maybe not on the exact same level.
Not nearly as much. The San Diego Padres over the last 5 years have had the amount of talent that they've developed through their minor league system is 3 times what the Twins have been able to produce.
And he should have exhausted that by now with all the deals that he's been doing. He's just, I'm all about that thing. And, if Mike were here, God, he would just love this conversation. But it's like, because he would want to keep all those guys.
Yeah.
If you ask Mike, that would be silly. And Mike, you are welcome to call in at any point if you'd like, if you're healthy enough. But yeah, man, I mean, if you were Twins GM, I know we talked about it a little bit last week, but just to restate for anyone, what should have happened?
It should have been Wilson Contreras from the Cubs to cover down on the catcher position.
Okay.
And re-sign him. And then it should have been a bigger arm. Frankie Montas got moved. There's no reason why the Minnesota Twins have been engaged with the Oakland Athletics in trade talks for 6 months now, the offseason and the first part of the actual season, and got nowhere on that arm. Nowhere. None at all. They also missed out on Manea, who got moved to San Diego earlier in the year. Luis Castillo. How about Pablo Lopez down in Miami, who, even though he's injured, is a Cy Young level pitcher, a true ace when he is healthy and on the bump. Like, there were other names that should have been gotten or leveraged for that they whiffed on. They decided to go with, like one of the other teams we'll mention later, they went with quantity over quality.
Yeah, I just, that's, at the end of the day, it's just more Twins shit.
Yep.
Exactly. That's how I see it. It's just like, great. What a fun, he now has me as, I'm susceptible to becoming like a significant Twins fan.
Yeah.
I'm always Cubs first, but there's things to be excited about on this team.
Oh, for sure.
And dude, it's like, is there anyone in the among Twins fans who doesn't sort of have like where a third of their gut just says, all right, now we're going to start just declining the rest of the year.
Exactly.
And just going to be a little bit short.
Exactly.
A little bit short.
And I don't think it'll be a decline. Okay, so the Twins keep pace. They win first place and they get to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Does this team strike you as a playoff team against the other teams they're going to have to go up against in the American League?
Right.
No.
I mean, when you put it that way, it's laughable.
Exactly.
And by the way, let's see what Mike thinks about that. He'll probably like this because, hey, Mike, do you want the Twins to win 86 games every year for the next 5 years, though? We're going to be consistent. I think he likes it.
I think that's we should put some seed out for him.
We should. It's it's just crazy to me that it's like that. We do have a mentality here that is like, but we're pretty good right now. Like,
exactly.
Let's not blow it.
Why would we? Why disrupt the apple cart? Like,
right.
And I even thought this, if these were the trades that you were going to make and you knew it wasn't enough to win a championship, then it should have been trading Correa to get all of the farm talent you would have needed in the future to go get a Juan Soto or Shohei Ohtani or whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah,
that should have been the approach. That's a Mike move. Like, that's what Mike would have said. But like I said, situations are situational. There was a opportunity for the Twins to go from playoff hopeful and get them all the way to contender, or to make a litany of moves, like some other teams that we saw do at the trade deadline, and be true buyers. And they just didn't fully commit. They did enough to keep the fan base happy. And that was all they did.
And truly, barely.
Yeah. Oh, barely.
Just barely enough. And it's, it is. It's just, I don't know, man. To me, I'm profoundly disappointed in that trade. Like you might have made some safe moves, but I think you really nailed this one in that. Compare the Twins to the fucking Yankees. Compare the Twins to the
Toronto Blue Jays,
to Toronto, to San Diego, whatever. Like we are a mile away. We are 10 miles away.
So far away.
Yeah,
so far away.
So if you think in those terms, yeah.
Well, let's take a look at what they have coming up.
All right.
So the Twins do have some games coming up. In this, I will admit that this stretch is where I can be proven wrong. They are playing a litany of playoff teams here. They are going to get Toronto, the Dodgers, and Houston in the next couple of weeks. Now, if the Twins treat this like an all-hands-on-deck measuring stick for the playoffs, and they win all of these series, maybe I will come back on this show and sing a different tune. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think Toronto's got better bats. I think they have better starters. Maybe our bullpen is now on par. Okay, let's look at the Dodgers. Their lineup exceeds ours. Their starting pitchers exceed ours. Okay, so we're a little ways off on the Dodgers. Houston, all right, well, they made some moves and improved. So if you can keep pace with them, that would give me some hope. But like I said, after these moves, are you looking at going into these series against these other playoff teams going, those are games we can win 2 out of 3. We can be heavy-handed in these series and prove something. I'm not so sure. I'm just not. I'm not sold. But if they go through and do those things, like, can my mind be changed? Can I be persuaded? Absolutely. Because obviously, you are not today who you were yesterday, and you can always hope for being better tomorrow. That's just kind of where the Twins are at. I don't know what to tell you. I think if they don't come out of this stretch above 500, that'll tell you that they don't stand a chance in the playoffs.
Have we heard at all from any of the players' reaction to this?
There were some interviews done. I haven't read a lot of them. The only super positive piece of Twins news that I have heard lately, actually, and you'll get a kick out of this, is because I've been singing the praises of Jose Miranda pretty much all season.
Mm-hmm.
At the trade deadline, Carlos Correa went to the general managers and vouched for him, saying this guy should be untouchable. He said Carlos Correa is a good player.
Yeah.
And a good advocate and eye for talent, right? He said that this guy is probably your 5-hitter, your 4 or 5 hitter for the next 7 to 10 years. You should not even have him have offers surrounding him. So that is the only real positive piece of Twins news that I have heard from some players. I think that was reported by the Star Tribune earlier this week. Sorry, I forget the name of the individual that was doing it. It was not Aaron Gleeman, but yeah, that's all I've heard.
Well, the people love your take.
I appreciate
that. They
that.
love that you saw that coming. They love that you identified the talent.
I'm here for you guys. Yeah. And I am a gun for hire, by the way. If you would like me to come out and watch somebody play ball, I can tell you probably whether or not they're going to make it.
I can look at any car in the world and tell you if it's at night, and I can tell you whether it's coming at you or driving away from you.
You know what? Those are great observation skills, Gabe, and that's why we keep you around.
That's right.
You're second to none.
That's right.
Second to none. And then last but not least, we have the Minnesota Vikings. They are in camp. We have padded practices. We'll start with the lesser news first. Irv Smith Jr. with yet another injury. Last year it was the meniscus. This year it is the thumb. On Tuesday, I believe, head coach Kevin O'Connell reported that he had fractured his thumb and was going in for surgery, but he would be ready for the beginning of the regular season. I don't think this is as big a deal as some would make it out to be. He's going to have the opportunity to get all of his mental reps. He is going to be able to condition. He is going to be able to go out and run routes. He's just not going to be able to catch the football for a while. So not too worried there. I actually think that Irv Smith Jr. is still set to have his breakout year this year and play a massive role in the Vikings offense as they obviously near the regular season. Everything else that's coming out of this is, is interesting. We've seen things already in culture change. The guys on offense, Alexander Mattison, Dalvin Cook, Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson, even Kirk Cousins coming out and talking about how multifaceted this offense is for such a simplistic formation standpoint. All of the different things that they can do, they've really opened it up. They've allowed Kirk to make a lot of plays at the line of scrimmage. Kevin O'Connell has helped him with making certain progressions and trusting, his skill set and things like those. All positive things, all things that have, major media like Colin Cowherd saying that the Vikings are going to go 13-4 this year and win the division and be the surprise of the league. So the optimism on offense is definitely at its peak, and it's going to land on the defense this year. It's going to be really interesting to see how Danielle Hunter plays, how Harrison Smith plays, how Zadarius Smith and Jordan Hicks and Eric Kendricks plays in Ed Donatell's defense as a more multifaceted front. Haven't heard a ton coming from the defense, not nearly as much optimism as the offense. Maybe that is because we have an offensive-minded head coach, mind you. But, go ahead.
What do we know about the complexity of this guy's offense? So, whenever you have a new coach come in like this, the first thing I think is it going to take us 6 games to figure out his playbook and get running?
Right.
You know what I mean? Are we going to sacrifice a season, basically?
I think this offense is actually, and I know Belichick is the wrong guy to use, maybe. But what you see out of really good offenses is you're going to get the stuff that they do really, really well early. And then those are going to be the building blocks for what you see later in the season. You see it a lot with the Niners. The Niners early in the season will line up with 2 tight end sets, and then they'll motion a wide receiver across and they'll run the ball this way. And they'll do that the first 3 or 4 games. And then before you know it, they'll motion that tight end across to the right. They'll fake that handoff to the left, and Jimmy Garoppolo will dump it over a blitzing defender, a rushing defender's head on a screen pass. That's a Shanahan offense. That Shanahan offense, believe it or not, is what Kirk Cousins had when he was there in Washington originally. And it's what they ran in, LA, and that got them a Super Bowl. So I think what you're going to see is you're going to see a lot of a deception. You're going to see a lot of motions. You're going to see a lot of formation changes at the line of scrimmage, a lot of reads in option routes and things that our offense just didn't do because Mike Zimmer wanted to play 3 yards in a cloud of dust football for the last 5 years. And it's only going to get better. It's only going to progress. You'll see things in week 1 that look the same as they are in week 7, but the result will be different because the play is actually different, even though the setup is the same. That's what I think the offense is going to look like.
Do you want to get in the mood for some Sunday football? Like kind of something, it's like our version of Fox.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. All right, I'll show you this. Just wait. Ready?
Yeah.
You're going to love this. Why doesn't the fucking robot come on? There we go.
I love it.
Absolutely. That's our guy. Don't worry. I will develop that, and that'll be our...
Oh, that's going to be awesome.
Have a football thing for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great.
We like that.
Yeah. So.
And then the other thing that I thought was interesting is Kellen Mond, who Mike has said on this show pretty much can't play quarterback, is taking second team reps over Sean Mannion this year. I like that. I like to see that Kevin O'Connell has instilled a certain level of confidence in a guy that really didn't get a shot under Zimmer. And maybe during these preseason games, we're going to get to see some legitimate development from him as a guy that if Kirk goes down might be able to muddle us through a game and still get a win. The other questions are, who's going to win the right guard battle? We'll check in on that as camp continues to roll through as we get a little bit closer to preseason games here. And then I did want Gabe's opinion on this. Did you see the interesting post or graphic that was put up at Vikings training camp earlier this week?
No, I did not at all.
So there was a graphic that was put up at training camp that said, please limit the amount of videos taken at training camp and posting them to external sources. We are all trying to keep a competitive edge. Thank you, Minnesota Vikings staff, pretty much. Do you think it really matters?
Do you think it's targeted at media or players?
I think it's targeted at fans. It was pretty much like, hey, fans, don't be taking a ton of videos while you're sitting in the stands at camp and then putting them on social media because other teams are going to pull that video and see what we're running.
Okay. I guess you have the right to post that to your fans, but it's also like, I mean, yeah, it just doesn't matter because
It doesn't matter.
Fucking Patriots can be sitting in the
Exactly.
Yeah, it's absurd. Actually, never mind.
Okay,
yeah, it's stupid.
I thought it was just the most absurd thing. I understand wanting to keep a competitive edge. I really do. I don't think it warrants any. I don't think it's really going to affect anything. If somebody wanted to go get film, they could go get it. I don't know.
That's all you have to do is think one layer deeper than your first impulse thought and go, oh yeah, never mind. It's totally absurd. And we can't, we can't do anything about it anyway. Yep. That's crazy. That's interesting. I wanted to ask you about Irv Smith because I'm not familiar with him. Irv Smith Jr., I should say. Mm-hmm. What is his skill set?
He's a great receiving tight end.
He is a hands guy first.
Think a smaller version of Darren Waller for the Raiders, or like a smaller version of Travis Kelce.
I was going to say, can you use an older player, please?
Tony Gonzalez.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. I don't know. It's thumb injuries I don't know much about. Like as far as how it impacts, you don't hear, I can't think of someone where they're not the same ever since their thumb, but
yeah.
Anyway.
My final question was, Gabe, do you know who isn't in any of these highlights and who nobody has mentioned throughout all of camp?
Jeff George.
Lewis Cine. Does that name ring a bell?
Don't ask me. I'm sorry. No, it doesn't.
Good. It shouldn't because it's the guy that we drafted at pick number 32 that got that hilarious reaction from me and Mike. Nothing has been said about him. Cameron Bynum, the guy who me and Mike said, they already have a safety, has gotten plenty of press through the beginning of camp, has been in a lot of people's tweets, has been in a lot of camp highlights. Lewis Cine has not been seen or been heard from since getting to camp. So what does that is alarming to me.
Well, yeah. I mean,
I'm not super thrilled about it.
We gotta call in Arif on this. Yep. I would love to hear what the whispers are. You know what I mean? Like that's gotta be.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Okay. So I just wanted to put that out into the universe. If anybody has seen the scene, maybe let us know.
What's local media saying about
Nothing.
that?
Nothing.
Okay.
He's not even being asked about in press conferences with Ed Donatel.
Well, he's not going to be asked about by our local media.
He should be if he's your first round. Listen, I watch a lot of press throughout camp. I've been following the Raiders. I've been following the Jaguars. I've been following the Giants. I've been following a lot of teams and their pressers. Every single team. Oh, how's the development of Trayvon Walker? Oh, how's the development of, the pass rusher from Michigan that went to Detroit? How is, how far along are they? What do you think, how do you feel that the guy is going to have an impact on your team this year? All of them have asked. Yeah. Nobody has asked about Lewis.
We just don't do that. We don't do that here. It's just bizarre. I don't know how we get so sycophantic here, but I mean, it's crazy how much we do. But
nobody's asked.
I know.
I'm here to hold the media accountable. I want to know where he is. I want to know if he's playing well. I want to know if the pick was worth it.
For real. It's absurd that's not a conversation.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah. So that's all we've got for the Minnesota Sports Roundup. Checking in on Kirill's return, Minnesota Vikings training camp, and the, half-assed attempt at the Twins trade deadline. Let us know what you guys think on all of these topics. As always, we will get back to you here live on the show with the comments or in the comments section after on all of our social feeds. And we can move over to something that Gabe is probably a tad bit more interested in than Minnesota sports, which is the MLB trade deadline as an overall. Were you paying attention? I know you said you were unplugged a little bit, but there's no way that the Juan Soto news missed you.
No, absolutely. I was aware of that and stuff like that. I didn't see anyone. I mean, besides San Diego,
right?
Who got second place? Who's the next winner? And I can't think of that name. I didn't see anyone else make a crazy splash. And I'm gonna look.
Seattle made some moves. I also liked. San Diego won the trade deadline far and away.
They got to have energy in that room now that is just it's it's World Series or bust in their heads, and that's just it.
I've got a reference for you. What was the name of the GM that you said that they have?
AJ Preller.
AJ Preller. Well, they should just call him. They should just start calling him Hannibal Smith. because, man, do you love it when a plan comes together.
Yeah.
Like, holy smokes. Fernando Tatis, their all-star shortstop, was a Chicago White Sox as a prospect.
Yeah.
Juan Soto, 23, one of the best players in the game, was a Washington National until a few days ago. Manny Machado, before he hit free agency, was a Baltimore Oriole. Josh Hader, the best closer in the league a few days ago, was pitching for another playoff contender in the Milwaukee Brewers. They just paid Joe Musgraves, a Cy Young candidate, $90 million. Now, does this team have about $1 billion in total invested in its stars for the next 3 or 4 years? Yes. But they have now, in my opinion, showed you the blueprint for how to go from a team that is a seller team to a large market contender with a winning culture. They drafted really well. They traded for a lot of prospects. They developed the heck out of their farm system. And when they saw opportunities that seemed way too good to pass up, they just didn't. Everybody said it's too much to pay for Manny Machado. He was hitting .356 earlier this year with 18 homers before the All-Star break. It's too much to pay and too early to pay Fernando Tatis. Well, he has gotten you above the San Francisco Giants and into the playoffs. Well, you don't have a starting rotation. They revived Yu Darvish. While they're still missing a piece in the bullpen, they went out and got Josh Hader. Like, they had some of the best prospects in the MLB. If I had to guess, out of the top 100, I think they had a league leading by a lot, by the way. 12 out of the top 100 prospects in the MLB that weren't playing at the professional level prior to the trade deadline. They still have like 4 or 5 of them, and they've added an MVP candidate alongside 2 other MVP candidates. And the best closer in baseball. They did it slowly over time. They have surpassed San Francisco. Now, the only question is, did they pass the Dodgers up in how competitive this team is going to be? That's the true question now.
How do you feel about this one in terms? So in the NBA, I don't like the super teams, right? Like, I mean, I just, for some reason, it's not as exciting to me. It's not, it's probably old head type thinking, but San Diego, even though they're loaded that way, I don't feel at all like they're, I kind of look at the Dodgers that way as like, a super team. And
they bought all their talent, right? They bought Freddie Freeman.
Yep, same thing.
They bought Mookie Betts.
The Yankees.
Right.
But for some reason,
San Diego didn't do
I can root for these guys.
San Diego built it.
Mm-hmm.
You build it and they will come. And they built a strong farm system, so they had every right to do this.
Yeah. They will be a great story if they, if they win. I would love to see them in like Tampa Bay rise up, or Miami, I should say, like kind of start getting some of these kind of B markets, and God forbid the fucking Twins.
Right, and that's
God forbid.
Exactly. This is what I was saying. So when Sano was younger, when Buxton was younger, before Royce Lewis got hurt the first time, things when those guys were coming up, and you're like, they're close, but they're not quite it. Why not trade to go get the guy that you can then build around? Because what they did is they went out and they got Machado, and then they found guys that wanted to play with a guy that played as hard as he did. That's exactly what they did.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they did.
It's even like the whatever you want to call it, like the flavor of these guys.
Oh,
like they all match.
Oh, yeah.
In a way, like they're going to be an exciting fucking team. I mean, God, I'm jealous.
So, Gabe, are they good enough to win the World Series?
No. That's my quick thing. Because, first of all, I should have more stats to say this, but it seems like you have to learn to win first, right?
I mean, they've been in the postseason twice.
Yes.
And lost. And Soto's got playoff experience. By the way, let's not forget that they got Josh Bell, who probably a very underrated pickup for them from the Nationals as well, who's going to fill in at DH in the playoffs and probably just rake out of the 7-hole. Yes.
The fact that they got two players in that too, that they got to upgrade at 2 positions is crazy to me. But I also want to shine but it's still, I stand in the same place.
Ooh.
It's their first time going to the playoffs with the pressure of winning.
I don't know, man. I think this is going to now they're going to have if they're going to do it. If they're going to do it, they're going to have to win it out of the wild card spot because at this point in the season, there's no way they're catching LA. And Fernando Tatis is probably still that clip that we were rolling here of him taking batting practice is about a week old from a fractured wrist from before the season started. So he's still not on the field.
And he's got a wristy swing too. Like,
yes.
I mean, it's awesome, but yeah.
But so it's going to take him a minute probably. But when they get going, they're going to go. They're going to have to do it from the wild card spot. So, I mean, do we have Gabe? Can you look up real quick? What are the standings because they're in the National League, are they not?
Yep.
What are the standings in the National Leagues right now? All right, we can just sit here and enjoy some of these clips of the guys that they picked up.
But and now another thing to be mindful of too is that Soto, even though he's Soto, right?
Yeah.
He's not having this amazing year yet.
No.
Like, in fact, he's having the worst, sort of, but he's still good or whatever. He's getting his walks and he's working the count enough. But, maybe we'll see how he reacts with the pressure. I wouldn't be worried about him with the pressure, but...
No. Well, I mean, he's going to be protected now. I mean, Josh Bell was behind him and he had 22 home runs and was hitting 240 before the All-Star break. Now he's probably, by the end of the season, going to have Fernando Tatis hitting in front of him and Manny Machado hitting behind him.
Yeah.
You're going to have to pitch to him differently. You're going to have to.
Yeah. So here we go. I got the standings. I'm going to put it on the screen here. The audience can't see it, but you can see it. So we'll go National League.
So
in the West.
Yeah. So the Dodgers are currently 61-46. You're testing my vision here.
Oh, okay. 11. So Padres are 11 games back
of the Dodgers. Right.
There we go. That'll help.
Of the Dodgers, which would put them. Now I'm looking at all the other second place teams. Right. So they've got.
So
61
Braves have
wins.
63 wins. The Cardinals have 55.
And there's two wild card spots.
Yep. And so, basically it's the Padres and the Braves are the current wild card.
So,
teams.
I mean, barring an absolute catastrophe or Bryce Harper coming back early and sending the Phillies on an absolute tear, they're going to make the playoffs as a wild card team.
Yep.
They're not missing the playoffs. And they're probably going to be taking on the 2 seed, which would be at this point Milwaukee.
Would they have more heat from the Giants than anything almost?
No.
I mean, I just don't see anyone giving them a run. It just looks like it's kind of,
Yeah, and they're going to wind up. They're going to wind up taking on Milwaukee, and they're going to steamroll Milwaukee in the first round.
And Phillies didn't do anything monstrous.
No, and Harper's hurt.
Yeah. I mean, it's
they got a shot. They absolutely got a shot. And then real quick, just because I want to talk about Juan Soto's contract, because it was reported that the reason that they did this and went out and actually got Juan Soto is because they believe they are going to be able to resign him to a deal.
Okay, I was going to ask that. Yeah.
Okay. Now that deal does not look like it's going to be this 10-year, $500 million deal, which is probably the right way to do this.
Mm-hmm.
I would tie his contract to be the middle ground between where Manny Machado's long, like I think he got a 10-year deal and he's about 5 years into it, where his contract ends and where Fernando Tatis' contract ends. And Tatis signed a 14-year, $340 million deal this offseason or last offseason.
Okay.
So I think what's going to happen is Juan Soto is 23. I would sign him to a 6-year deal, 7-year deal. And then allow him with some flexibility to hit the market if he needs to again at 30. Because Aaron Judge is about to set the market for what you're going to have to pay an elite hitter at 30 years old.
Yeah.
I think that's exactly what's going to happen. So it's going to be 6 or 7 years, and you're probably looking at $45 to $50 million a year. 35 to $45 million a year.
So there was a little trend in baseball for just a minute where people were doing these short-term deals, big money short-term deals. Boy, if I was Juan Soto with the confidence he's got and all that stuff, I wonder about a guy. I mean, think of the career you could set for yourself of just going and being a hired gun like that and going,
Oh yeah.
I'm going to go win with the Cubs now this year.
That's what Max Scherzer. Yeah. That's what Max Scherzer has done.
Right. It seems like pitchers are doing that. I'm not seeing position players do it as much.
I think because position players, it's so dependent on who's around you. Pitchers, you can have an independently successful season.
Sure.
And people can see that. But like I said, I think as a hitter, you want to be in a franchise that can protect you year in and year out, provide you with base runners, provide you with good fielding, that has a good pitching rotation to where if you're being successful, your talent isn't being wasted, so on and so forth. So that's why I think now all these long-term deals that we were seeing Trout, Machado, Harper get, I think those are a little played out. I think Tatis was the last one, and I think that's because he's so young, and they plucked him out of a farm system that had him buried on the depth chart in Chicago. And that was kind of like his thank you, is willing to just get their guy for the next 14 years. But I think with all these elite guys, Judge is going to get 6 to 7 years. Soto's probably going to get 6 to 7 years. What did Freeman get? Freeman got 5, 6. Yeah. You know what I mean? So that's what you're going to start seeing for power hitters. That's what Mookie Betts got. Mookie Betts got like 5 or 6 years. So it's most likely that that's what you're going to see.
I think it's good for baseball overall. Yeah, sorry, there's an alien behind you dancing, the Macarena.
They are here.
Yeah. They're definitely here. Yeah, we could do a whole nother podcast.
Juan Soto might be one.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
I just got a very interesting baseball anecdote that I heard that I want to share. So because I think that Juan Soto is the same talent probably. Mm-hmm. I was listening to a thing about Pete Rose about his eye. So there's an old story. Have you heard about Ted Williams and his eye that he had 2010 vision?
Sure.
Okay. And that identifying the laces is such a big thing. So I found this audio thing of Pete Rose, because I love Pete Rose. And he's talking about, there's a baseball broadcast where someone was talking about how hard it is to pick up the seams on a 98 mile an hour fastball. And they played a clip of it. And I got to find this clip because to me, it just looks like a pill, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and Pete Rose interrupted. He's like, what do you mean? You can see the seams on a 100. He's like, you can pick that up. Like, I mean, and I really think Juan Soto is that guy. I think Luis Arraez might be that guy. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And it's so fascinating to me how those guys, how it is just a biological thing like that.
Yeah.
You know? You can't teach someone to see the seams on a 98 mile an hour fastball.
You know what's crazy to me, by the way, Gabe?
What?
Juan Soto really does have the chance to be very, 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 very aligned with Barry Bonds, like his career trajectory.
I think
super close.
I mean, I think for some reason I see him more in the. I mean, actually, he really is in his own camp. I can't think of a major star who has his exact skill set.
Well, think about it. So, really, a talented fielder with a great bat
and
a good
talented fielder.
I mean, he's not a Gold Glove fielder, right? Yeah. He's not Bonds level Gold Glove fielder. I'll admit that.
Yeah.
That spent some time in a below average franchise that couldn't hold on to talent, managed to scrap them into the playoffs, and then at the first chance he had to get out the door, took off to a West Coast market in California that surrounded him with a ton of talent where he's going to be relevant for the rest of his career if he wants to. If he continues to hit home runs in that California sunlight, it's going to be hard not to draw the comparisons. It's going to be really hard not to draw the comparisons.
Is there any surprise that you've seen or read or that you even have that he didn't go to a major media market though?
No. Is that not who I don't think that's who he is.
See, I think it was like I do think it's who he is.
I think he just wants to win. Like I think as much as like there isn't a lot of guys that get this label and like the MJ Brady, like silent, like just assassin, I want to win label. I think Soto's one of those guys. Otherwise, why not stay in Washington?
Yeah, I guess, because I thought it was a celebrity type thing, or, just to be a star. And I don't fault him for wanting to be that if he does, but I think it's.
But is
savvy.
He a star? If you think about guys that want to be stars, let's backtrack here.
Mm-hmm.
Does he pimp home runs and wear chains and do drastic shit like Jazz Chisholm? No.
No. Hold on.
He bat
Just
flips.
because he doesn't pin.
I mean, he bat flips like a pro.
Shuffle. He does plenty of shit to bring attention on himself in a significant way.
You're right, but do you see him out in the media talking all the time? No.
No, but it's because I assume he's not that bright. Like he's not as charismatic and sharp as what Jazz Chisholm is my thing.
Right, but he doesn't. But he also doesn't put himself in that scenario, right? He just kind of. He is more. There's an NBA comparison the other day that I was thinking.
Love like high performing athletes.
Oh yeah.
Like, in more of a, like, of course we all love them in certain ways. I have this, I don't know, a crappy impulse to want to bring them down some level, Yeah. Maybe that's what I have to admit about
it. It is
myself.
what it is.
Yeah.
All right, let's, you want to talk about the rest of the trade deadline?
Can we shine a really quick light on this? Because I have something pulled up to show you.
Yes, sir.
Because we've talked about this a few weeks.
I can watch. I bet you I can name them before you get to them.
Go ahead.
Anthony Rendon, Bryce Harper left, Trey Turner, Juan Soto now, Nelson. Nope, not Nelson Cruz. Jason Worth. Did he leave too early? All right, let's see.
Daniel Murphy.
Okay.
Ian
Desmond. Okay.
I can't think.
Those guys don't ring any, but don't seem like they left too early. Tyler Clipper definitely left too early. Harper left way too early.
Now we're getting in the meat of it.
Yeah. Carlos Rendon. I don't notice that name either.
He must be a prospect. Wilson Ramos.
Yeah, Wilson. That one makes sense. Lucas Giolito. Yeah, he's with the White Sox now. He's a stud. Alfonso Soriano. That's the tail end of Alfonso's career.
Well, no. He went to the Cubs after that. That was huge.
Oh, is that when he? That was when he went to the Cubs. Okay.
It was a blockbuster.
I have them backwards because I think of Alfonso Soriano and I think of
Bernard Span.
I think of Yankees to Texas. I think of Texas Alfonso Soriano when I see him.
Yeah. I mean, it's just crazy to me. Like, if you're a fan of the Nationals,
sell the team. The team.
You guys clearly don't want to play baseball.
Exactly.
You don't want to win baseball games.
This whole lockout was about competitive balance. And you can make an argument that the Nationals have had the highest volume of potential Hall of Famers in the last 15 years. And they have not kept a single one.
Yeah.
They're all gone.
Yeah, like, I don't know how you root for that team. If you're a fan there, it must just be like, it'd be like being a Twins fan in the early 2000s.
Gabe, they picked Steven Strasburg over Max Scherzer. Oh my God.
I mean, okay, yeah, Strasburg, Scherzer, Harper, Rendon.
Yeah.
Like, they could have they could have had the
Trey
Yankees
Turner
naturally. Trey Turner.
Trey Turner is a monster.
These are the guys who I thought would be on that list. That was a shitty list, but anyway, they could have the Yankees naturally.
Yeah.
Like they could have actually sourced it themselves.
In 2022, you could have had Harper. The top of your order could have been Trey Turner, Carlos Rendon at 2, Soto at 3, and Harper at 4.
I mean, find whoever's in charge of their farm system and pay him $1 billion.
Bring him to Minnesota. Yeah. Bring him to Minnesota. I want him here.
Yeah.
They've done a great job developing talent. They just can't keep them.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta wonder what the fuck is going on over there. Like, is it a manager? Is it a culture? Do their facilities suck? What the fuck is going on?
They can't suck. They built that ballpark around the same time the Twins built theirs.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. Why would they?
Not at all.
Are they trying to get them in the, what's that cult thing? Whatever, where rich people approach them to be in the Illuminati there and they're scared. Like, what is happening in Washington?
I have no idea.
Different managers too.
Yep.
It just, man.
All right. Rest of the MLB. Some interesting moves. I'll breeze through these pretty quickly. I think the Brewers, who went out and got Taylor Rogers in the Hader trade, and then Matt Bush from Texas. They chose, kind of like the Twins did, quantity over quality. I think they kind of fit into the Twins category. How apropos for the Midwest sports markets where they're really competitive in the regular season, but I think you put them in a playoff matchup against a top contender and they're going to get dog walked. They're missing that it guy at the plate for me to really make that team go. So that good move, C+ maybe. I definitely don't know why you would give up the best closer in baseball when you're going to need him in the postseason. The Yankees going out, and here's what I'm going to have a small caveat on this. I think them not leveraging their full farm system for a guy like Juan Soto signals to me a massive problem in the negotiations with Aaron Judge. I think that they know that they're probably going to lose him, and they wouldn't want Juan to follow him out the door, and they're going to need all that youth to retool this team because it's going to take a massive hit when Aaron Judge walks out the door. A massive hit. They go out and they get Frankie Montas. Like I said, I think the Twins obviously should have won that one out. They've been talking to him for 6 times longer than the Yankees were. And the Benintendi trade, I will now forever hate him because he was at one point a Red Sox, and anybody who dons a Bo Sox uniform and then winds up in pinstripes is dead to me. So screw him. The Houston Astros went out and got Christian Velasquez and Trey Mancini for the Baltimore Orioles. How odd of them to start to break up a very good young core. I mean, they've got Austin Hayes amongst a bunch of other pieces. Obviously, they got rid of Jorge Lopez, and just didn't seem to me like I thought they would be selling, because they probably could have competed with the Red Sox getting ready to do a hard reset next year, probably, with how bad they are right now. The Astros trades to me just signify that they are trying to squeeze the last drops of juice out of the Jose Altuve Astros. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Is that kind of seem what it that seemed like what it is to you too?
Yeah, I think so.
Before that roster probably starts to decline and turns over. Right. Mm-hmm. So they're trying to make one more run at it with some of the pieces that they got. And then Seattle. Now, do I think Seattle's moves were really good for this year? No. Do they make the playoffs? No. I mean, yes, but probably not a competitive playoff run. They're probably a very early, easy first round out. But them getting another pitcher when they've got a really good ace, and they got Lamb from LA who can toss the rock as well, and the progression that they've made with some of their other pieces, I might place a pretty hefty bet on Seattle next year to win 95 ball games.
So they would have the second wild card.
Yes.
Right? But it's pretty backed up around there. The AL's really competitive, it looks like. So, so you think they're going to fall to who?
Well, I don't necessarily think they're going to fall. I think they're either going to be just on the outside looking into the playoffs, or they'll get into the playoffs, and because of how young that roster is, they're not really going to be able to do anything, kind of like you had said with San Diego. But I think if they're able to retain Luis Castillo or whatever his name is, Jake Lamb, they've got they signed a really big pitcher this last offseason. Then they've got their top 3 starters. You'll let J-Rod get another year. They've got a lot of young talent that's on its way up. Novel Marte, and along some other pieces. I think they're a team that, like I said, could be floating around 95 wins next year. And
Toronto did nothing, huh?
Yeah, Toronto didn't do much.
Wow. I thought they had a chance to kind of make a move and do something, but I don't know.
They needed an arm, but I think in the process of attaining all of the talent that they currently have, there's not a lot left in their
depleted.
Yeah, there's not a lot left in their farm system for them to go get anybody.
Now, one thing I will say, I did look at the Juan Soto trade, and I'm really familiar. Now, you don't win in a Juan Soto trade or whatever. Like, you don't lose. You don't lose Juan Soto and win a trade. Yeah. Like, I don't give a shit if you get 5 number 1 draft picks or whatever. It's just the odds of them panning out like that are just too low. But I will give Washington a little bit of credit as far as a business move for your ownership. They are loaded with.
But what's the point?
Like real.
If all 5 of them pan out, how many of them stay?
Oh, yeah.
None of them.
Right. No, I mean, if history is an indicator, they're just there, like learning how to get good.
In all honesty, you know what I would have done? I would have traded for anybody who doesn't have Scott Boras as an agent, because Scott Boras has bent the Nationals over the table for 5 years.
God, I wish we could interview him.
Oh my God. Why? And you know, and it's just that franchise. It's that franchise. He sees a young star in Washington and goes, oh, that's my guy.
You would think that the owner of the Nationals, like, fucked his wife.
Yeah, you would.
Something like
that.
Yeah,
no, you definitely would. You definitely would.
He is going scorched earth on them. It is crazy. But yeah.
Yeah, not great. Not great. So that's what I got. Anything that you want to add to the MLB trade deadline? You got to keep Wilson Contreras and Ian Happ. How happy are you about that?
I'm not happy about it.
Right.
I want him to trade both of them. The Cubs are in. It is so bad, man. Like, even our farm system is depleted. Like, there's nothing exciting coming. It's like, I'm sorry, that's got to be detonated.
And you got rid of some pitching. I mean, you did get rid of a starter and 2 relievers.
Right. It's absurd. I mean, like, truly, that team's mismanagement since that World Series
has been brutal.
I mean, it's like, well, back to Cubs baseball. That's how it feels to me. Like, now I'm going to start rooting hard again now.
You know what's funny? You know what's funny, Gabe? At least you got one.
Yeah, no, it's worth it.
Yo, for sure. I wish the Twins would do it. Whatever they did, I wish the Twins would. I wish the Vikings, the Timberwolves would do it.
Case in point for why, well, here, we should just bring him in, I guess, here. This is case in point, if I could speak to Mike for a moment here. Mike, this is why you do this, because I actually just ran across pictures the other day of me holding my 1-year-old son. I had them all in Cubs stuff. We're rooting for them to watch them win the World Series. The year my son was born, the Cubs won the World Series. I looked at that picture. I teared up. Is there anything that the Twins have done this trade deadline that you believe will make you cry in the future?
Nope.
I mean, not positively.
Not me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's Mike, this is why you do mortgage the future to win now.
Hey,
it's exciting.
Hey, Gabe. Mm-hmm. In Mike's opinion, that shit's for the birds.
That's for sure. That is for sure.
No, I wish. Yeah. I definitely wish that somebody.
I don't know why people fight. Like, I want a team where the GM tries to win.
Yeah.
That's all I want.
Yeah. I want somebody to come in and do that. Scorched earth. Leverage everything you have to get this city a championship.
I'm so sick of people in this market.
Like,
somehow we as fans start acting like we're the fucking owners and we're watching a billionaire's pocketbook. Like, well, we don't want to spend too much and mortgage our future. It's like, whose future? Are you paying money for these motherfuckers?
I was going to say, I'll tell you what, Gabe. If this show blows up to the point to where I've built a little bit of a media empire, you better believe I'm coming for a Minnesota sports team.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, easily.
Yeah.
Easily my first large purchase. Hey, Nick, do you want to open an entertainment business? We should diversify your portfolio. Nope. Stick it all in the piggy bank and find me an ownership group I can partner up with, because I want a sports team. This city deserves championships.
Oh, and and let alone that it's like a monopoly. It's like the safest business you can invest into.
Oh, yeah.
My God. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Oh, yeah. It's a different echelon. All right. Ready for Hot Corner?
Yes.
Some sad news first.
Yes.
We've actually had 2 of these. We've actually had 2 of these in the last week or so. Bill Russell passes at 88. Obviously, I am not nearly as familiar with him as I am generationally removed from his era. He is one of the truest competitors. And in my opinion, the NBA lost. What I have heard is it's equivalent to Jackie Robinson with some of the racism that he had to deal with in the league, and still was a win, kind of the anti-LeBron in the win at all costs mindset, and accomplished it every time he attempted it. So a living legend that
Can I do a little rundown of this guy? Because absolutely. I ran across this and I was really kind of blown away at how he is the best example. He is who we should be celebrating the most.
Oh, yeah.
He won 11 championship rings.
Yep. Out of 12 finals appearances, I believe.
So, yeah. So, basically, these 11 NBA championships were won in 13 seasons.
Jesus.
Which means that around 85% of the time that he was in the NBA, he won a national championship.
Yeah.
He won, he was with Coach Red Auerbach.
Yep.
Bob Cousy, all this stuff, but he did his civil rights stuff.
Oh, yeah.
quietly.
Yep.
Kind of in a way that he truly put the movement ahead of himself.
Yeah.
It's not, it wasn't a marketing move like some people can do now. And I'm not saying that about anyone specifically, but yeah, man, he really was an incredible guy, so it's so weird. They gave him a tunnel in Boston.
Oh yeah.
He's got a tunnel, but these other people who win championships there who don't have the impact. I don't know. He just seems a little underappreciated for what he deserves.
He definitely does. And like all of the true great artists and, a lot of other public figures in our lifetime, I'm sure that he will be respected and remembered much more greatly now that he is gone than he was during his life, even though his life, I'm sure, was immeasurably great by the impact that he had on the people around him.
How many rebounds per game do you think he averaged?
20.
20 for 10 out of his 13 years. So, 80% of his career, he averaged over 20 rebounds a game.
Oh, yeah.
You know what his single game high is?
50 something?
51.
Oh gosh, Gabe, I'm really close on a lot of these.
You are. No, I'm impressed for someone who's out of that. That you're not connected to it.
It's this big old noodle right here, ladies and gentlemen. This is a stat storage bin right here.
Yeah.
I may not remember your birthday. If I meet you in public, I may not remember your name. But you asked me what Derek Jeter hit in 2004.
Yeah.
Right here.
Yeah, man. He is arguably the greatest player to ever play.
Oh yeah.
To play the game.
Oh
and,
yeah.
It's awesome. So.
And then, do you want to take a minute to, especially as somebody who's in sports media, we don't have a graphic done, unfortunately. The Dodgers announcer that passed. What was his name, Gabe?
I feel like you're breaking news to me right now. So.
Really?
Oh, do you mean the voice of the Dodgers?
Yes.
Jesus Christ, Gabe! What the hell? Why am I not thinking of this? This is embarrassing for me. I know exactly who this is. Wait, the Dodgers. I'm just using the internet.
No, you're good.
Vin Scully.
Also passed.
I didn't even know. He's the best voice in baseball. Yeah. And I'm Harry Carey, I'm all about that. But for play-by-play, just the sound of his voice is the most appealing sound in the world.
Nobody better.
I want him to give play-by-play on my sex life. I mean, it for real, man. That guy is amazing. What a great guy. That sucks to hear. I didn't know that he is.
I think of him in baseball as I think of Morgan Freeman in voiceovers in movies.
He is the voice of baseball. I don't know if they say that, but that's how he should be regarded.
Absolutely.
He is the voice of baseball.
Absolutely.
That sucks to hear, man.
So condolences to the families, thoughts and prayers to anybody who is hurting right now that were impacted by either one of these two absolute legends. But I'm sure currently in the big blue basketball court and baseball field in the sky, Scully is calling a game with guys that he grew up watching, and Bill Russell is enjoying a game of pickup with Kobe and all of the other greats. So
yeah, rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
Yeah,
to them both. From that to a little bit of UFC.
Sure.
We'll talk about Amanda Nunes recapturing her champ status real quick.
Yeah, of course.
I was impressed by this. I think everything in life has an expiration date, and we've talked about it many times on this show. Once a fighter loses, sometimes it can be a very evident warning light of the end, like the cliff.
Yes, you lose your magic.
Yeah.
And
for her to come back and not only win, but win in the way that she won, she dogged Juliana Pena, was something that is very evident of that thing that she has that separates her not only from all of the great women in UFC history, but all of the greats in UFC period. For her to do this. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
What's even kind of more impressive, I guess, is that when I was reading things on the run-up, and that I'm not a giant, I don't, whatever, I won't say that, but whatever, I'm not a giant one of the female aspect of the fighting for some reason. I don't know, whatever the case, but maybe I'm sexist. I don't mean to be. But I don't know if you saw her sound bites in it. She was saying things like, basically, she was not taking responsibility for the loss.
She had COVID. She came out and she's like, I had COVID. Camp was hard.
Excuses and all this stuff to where I'm going like, oh man,
it's over. It's over.
Because it had Ronda Rousey written all over it, man.
That's what I thought.
Exactly the
That's
same.
what I thought.
So now it's like I don't even know what to think anymore. Now it was. I mean,
do you want to see Pena? Do you want to see Pena Nunez 3?
Well, yeah. What the hell?
Yeah, I do.
I don't know. Like kind of. Yeah. Now that you say it, of course.
If Pena
what's the other fight?
Shevchenko.
So that I was going to ask you that because I don't pay enough attention to that end of things.
Yeah.
Are they would they have to meet at a catch weight? Are they the same weight?
Ooh, Shevchenko?
Yeah, Shevchenko and Nunez.
Catch weight.
Who's heavier?
Nunez.
Because Shevchenko now, I will say this.
She's a walking buzzsaw.
She was incredible.
Yeah.
She is the first female fighter that I've seen where I go like,
wow.
Dude. I mean, she's got a skill set that I haven't seen before.
She's all elbows and knees, dude.
Oh, yeah.
All elbows and knees.
She's a fucking killer. And no disrespect to any women fighting like for real. I do respect it. I just, for whatever reason, I don't like watching as much. But Shevchenko could change all that in a minute.
Oh, yeah. She could headline a pay-per-view.
Yes.
Shevchenko versus Nunez 2, because Nunez has a win over her before I think either one of them had a belt.
Yeah. It's just crazy.
Could headline its own international fight week in Vegas.
Mike, this is not your segment. You know that.
Go away. Over here, buddy. See ya. Yeah, I think that could headline its own international fight week or massive pay-per-view.
Do you know what gym she fights out of?
I do
Shevchenko?
not.
Because, I mean, honestly, man, her skill set is one of a kind, it looks like. I've not seen a male who fights that way.
It almost reminds me of, and to be honest with you, because I know she's Russian or something like that, isn't she?
Mm-hmm.
It looks like Khabib's. She looks like a Khabib camp fighter, where I
don't see that with her
smashes people. No. Oh, but just like with her mentality, the dominance, good ground game. If she gets you down, she's gonna blade you.
No, that's for sure. I just think she's like a video game character.
Oh yeah,
it's crazy.
Oh yeah,
but yeah.
So that's what I got on that. Anything else on Amanda Nunez? I just wanted to buzz through some of these real quick.
No. I mean, good. Credit to her, and actually might be making me interested in it. Mean, I would watch her in Pena 3 now.
Yes,
for sure.
Oh yeah. And then Lamar Jackson's contract comment. I've been tooting this horn like I was tooting the Jose Miranda horn. He's done in Baltimore.
What happened?
Lamar's done in Baltimore.
But what happened there? I don't understand.
Here's why. I was a fan, a diehard fan. I actually had a Lamar Jackson Louisville jersey before I even thought he was going to make it in the NFL, because he was the guy that followed up Teddy Bridgewater in Louisville. Put some context on this. And in that system where he was allowed to pass and then run like, in open field because they were 4 wide, kind of like Cam Newton did in his early years in Carolina, I was like, this guy's an absolute weapon. He's not a running back. He's not a wide receiver. This guy's a quarterback with great mobility. He can throw the pill. Baltimore came up and got him for a steal, 32nd pick in the first round. He's making less than the other 4 quarterbacks, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, Josh Rosen included from his draft class. He has the highest winning percentage. He has a great completion percentage. He's got wins in the playoffs. He has an MVP to his name. And they treat him the same way that San Francisco treats Deebo Samuel. We're going to run the playbook my way, and you're going to like it. They put him in harm's way consistently. Quarterback power, quarterback counter, not getting him wide receiving weapons, not opening up the offense, trading away the wide receiving weapons in guys like Marquise Brown that he has. Not going getting T.Y. Hilton, not going and getting a Julio Jones, not drafting a true vertical stretch threat, not going 4 deep at the running back position. Oh, wait, no, they do that. Baltimore has set themselves up to fail. Now, Lamar has come into camp instead of at 210, 215, at 230 this year, putting on weight because I'm sure he wants to play a more traditional style at quarterback. He's also said this comment at the presser at training camp. He's hopeful a contract extension with the Ravens will eventually get completed, but he doesn't want negotiations to drag into the regular season, saying, and I quote, at some point, there will be a cutoff. Well, if that's the case, and we get into the regular season and that's the cutoff, well, next offseason, that makes him a free agent. I don't know how anybody in Baltimore has any confidence that he's coming back to that team next year. This is Ozzie Smith's or is it Greg Roman? I think it's Greg Roman and Jim Harbaugh's or the Harbaugh's fault for not letting him develop. He wants to go somewhere where he can prove that he's a quarterback, where he can prove or at least play a longer career than letting linebackers and defensive ends and safeties come downhill on him for 25% of the football game because they know he's going to be the one carrying the rock. Like, everything that I see leads me to believe that this is the last year you're going to see Lamar Jackson in a Baltimore Ravens uniform unless he does what Joe Flacco did, which is bleeds them dry of the world's largest contract ever. And then you have the Aaron Rodgers situation that begins to transpire where they can't put enough talent around him because he is too large of a part of your salary cap. I think it's over.
What do we know about his relationship with Harbaugh for real? I know they say positive-ish stuff publicly.
I think they have the same mindset. I think they're both win now guys. I think they're both win first, above the team, or above personal accolades, win the football game. Go for it on 4th and short, be aggressive, take ownership for your shit. Style guys.
Has he complained about the, him being put at risk in plays and stuff like that?
And Lamar, like Damian Lillard, would never come out and directly throw anybody under the bus.
Okay. So, because that's, I guess, of course, my first thing in seeing this, my first thought is naturally that Kirk Cousins would be such a good fit there. And,
yeah.
And I loved him. But no, it's just that it seems inconceivable that they would screw this up. But
it's coming.
Yeah.
It's coming, man. Keep in mind, the regime that drafted him isn't there anymore. Ozzie Smith is the guy that vouched for Lamar Jackson in his last draft. And they still started Joe Flacco to start that year. Joe Flacco got hurt. The Ravens were bad. That's why Lamar got his chance, and he turned that team around. Everything that the Ravens have been since Lamar has become the starting quarterback has been 100% credit to Lamar. He has made the most out of the worst situation of the guys that were drafted in the same class as him. Outside of Patrick Mahomes winning a Super Bowl, name another quarterback since those two were drafted that you would take. And I will wait. I don't think you can name one.
No.
Would you take Josh Allen? No, he hasn't had the playoff success that Lamar has had.
And he's not,
he's not the team leader Lamar is.
Lamar is a better version of Mike Vick, right?
Exactly.
And Mike Vick came in and, truly that was a skill set that you just couldn't believe.
And here's a great comparison that I will draw for you. I know Vick went away for his, transgressions against animals. I have a dog.
Yeah.
And I was incredibly upset when I heard that. But guess who was the offensive coordinator in Atlanta when Mike Vick was running all over the place, kind of similar to Lamar, designed runs?
You son of a bitch.
It was Greg Roman.
You son of a bitch.
Guess what happened to Michael Vick when he got under a pass-first system in Philly? After 5 years off, he became an immediate MVP candidate and put the Eagles right in the middle of the playoffs. When they had a declining Donovan McNabb and had just gotten rid of, T.O., and they were trying to hold on to Deshaun Jackson and Jeremy Maclin and an aging bad defense. What do you think is going to happen to Lamar when he leaves? He's going to become everything that Michael Vick would have become the minute he left Greg Roman's offense. The minute it happens.
They should get Mike Vick in his ear. He probably doesn't need it.
They are very close.
Yeah.
They are very close to one another. So I'm sure Lamar being his own counsel as part of, he doesn't have an agent. His mom is his agent.
That's right.
I'm sure Vic has given him counsel on this. Hey man, you know what the best way to protect your body would be? Get out of this system. I was beat up at the end of my run at Atlanta. Get out of this system.
Where does he go?
I'm telling you, man, if Tua doesn't blow the doors off everybody this year, he's going to Miami.
Tua's last chance, you think?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it should be.
Lamar's from Florida. Lamar's from Miami. The prodigal son returns to throw the ball to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle with a brand new offensive-minded head coach. You know who the offensive coordinator in San Francisco has been? Outside of Shanahan, who's been calling the plays? Mike McDaniels, the guy that they just hired. You know who Lamar has a ton of success against? Bill Belichick, who has not been able to stop him in any game. It immediately pushes them over the Jets and pushes them over the Patriots and puts them on par at least for 3 years with the Bills.
Yeah.
You know where else he could go in Florida? I think he's going back to Florida regardless. Tom's retiring this year.
Oh, yeah.
Could he not go throw to Chris Godwin and Mike Evans and play in Bruce Arians' system? Bruce Arians coached both Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. You want to see Lamar's passing game develop? That's the guy you go play under. Or, I know he's like the president of football operations now, but that would still be his guy.
Is Bruce Arians going to get back in the coach's chair after this?
Not necessarily. I don't think he will. But I think his fingerprints will forever be all over this.
Yeah.
Lamar's gone, dude. It's over. It's over. Baltimore messed it up. Blame your coaches. Blame your coaches.
That's crazy.
Nuts to me.
It's crazy that especially as a team who has Kirk Cousins for their quarterback. It's like
the Vikings could have drafted him. And I'm going to do this real quick for everybody that forgets the situation that the Vikings were put in after the Minneapolis Miracle. We had Case Keenum and a hurt Teddy Bridgewater that we were getting rid of, and a mid-first round pick. We decided not to go with Case, and we signed Kirk Cousins that offseason. You know who we could have drafted in the first round? Lamar Jackson.
No. Yeah.
Didn't happen.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy.
Especially since we had a relationship with the Teddy thing dating back to Louisville, and they just turned a blind eye to it.
Yeah.
Nepotism. That's what that's called.
Yeah.
110%. All right. Well, that's all I got for the show today, folks. Gabe, how you think we did? Minus Michael, but I think he had a pretty good show.
Yeah, no, I think he had a good time. And actually, I believe that might, let's see, what the heck is this then? This is very odd. He's all over the place.
This is what we mean by this whole not winning thing is contagious. I got to get out of here before I get pecked alive. So as always, glad to have you guys back with us for another episode of Glass Half Sports. Covered a lot today. Make sure you tune in next week as we will be covering what is going to be the first round of preseason games. As we dive a little bit further into camp and getting ready for the NFL season, we will also probably be having a fantasy football roundtable episode coming up here before the start of the season. So that'll be kind of fun. Other than that, not a whole lot going on in sports. I'm sure we'll check in on the Juan Soto trade as that, I guess, kind of plays itself out now that he'll be in the lineup. And that's really all I got for you guys next week. But make sure you tune in, because if there is sports news that's happening, this is where it will be covered. You can always find us on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Spotify, YouTube, Patreon, and Twitch at Glass Half Sports. Spell it like it sounds at 11 on Thursdays. See you guys next week. Take care. Stay safe. Have fun. Good job today, Gabe.
Thanks, man. It was a good show. Oh, no, the screen is cracking. What?
It's the robot's fault.
Oh, dear.
NBC. No relation to NBC.